Hello world. Here I am again. It's Irene. Day five? Day five of putting in any kind of honest to God work on this. Uh, yeah, so things are coming along pretty well. I, again, like more and more, it's starting to look like an actual game. But I dug myself into some serious holes, and we'll discuss those in a second here. So, what did I accomplish today? I played around a lot with lighting, and that actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, because in earlier versions of Unity, in order to adjust your lighting, you kind of just had to play with what's called your universal pipeline or universal render pipeline settings, which just told the engine what to do and what not to do, and it like built the game and showed it on your screen, right? So it rendered to your screen. If you want it to render light, I always wondered why exactly it's specific about this. Like, yes, I want to render the lights, that's why I put them in there. Uh, but okay. But they changed that in six. And so again, how did we get by without ChatGPT? Honestly, like I love AI. I'm sorry, I've given up doing Google searches because you'll go around in circles with all kinds of different people in Google searches, trying to find one solution to your problem. Um, Again, you can just have a discussion with the AI, and it makes your life easier. So here we are. So here's where I'm at though, is so that light I was talking about is at the exit, but look at this. Look at this. Um, it's not that exciting because it's actually just choosing like these two pieces here. One of them is what you're seeing as I move the mouse around the screen, and then when I click, then it places down the other one. So it's not doing anything random yet, but see, I can fill out my grid. What I did manage to sort of mess up is character movement. And so here's where I dug myself a hole. Is Sorry, let me adjust this a little bit. Uh, so I can't move. I can't. I'm pressing buttons right now. Nothing's moving. Because I'm trying to make it where, well, I could shift this pretty quickly and go back to the old script where I could move wherever I wanted to, and that's not too difficult to do. So I'm gonna talk while I try and do that because I very smartly did not delete the old script. What I tried to do was say, okay, so I've got this object that I just called floor, and it's a gray space that you see on the screen. And floor should not be something that the character can walk on. I don't want you to just walk across the floor to the exit. I want you to have to place all of the pieces. And so um, what I did was I kind of replaced my character script with all of this stuff down here. And this should say if you are above the floor, then you can't move. If you're above a not floor, like a maze piece, then you can move. But I could easily just comment that out. There's sneaky programming tricks for you. Uh, and put that one back in commission. So this is the original script. This one looks much more familiar to me. This one just has all of this craziness, like if um, basically yeah, it's trying to snap itself to this grid, and that's not what I want. Um, so I kind of built myself into this, and here's why. So I in order to save myself time creating colliders so that you can't walk into the walls of the mazes, um, I did this thing where the entire maze is now painted as a collider. And so, in order to get the character to move, it has to be a little bit like this much off the floor so that it doesn't collide with the floor of the maze and it can actually move. And similarly, then the maze has to be this far off the actual floor so that you can actually see the floor of the maze, that it's been placed and everything. So now I should be able to move, just because I went back to the old one. But I can move wherever I want. I'm not constrained by the mazes. So you see where my problem is. I could go back and redo the colliders on every single one of the maze pieces so that they only work for the walls and not for the floor pieces. Let's see, so now I can I can walk, and I can also just drop maze pieces as I want. So this is cool that the grid works, right? Like you can't place these randomly. I did have to play quite a bit with the offsets. They weren't what I expected. If I tried to do an offset of 6, then it just, I don't know. It's a long thing. So then there we go. So the exit is a little bit glowy now, but again, it doesn't do anything yet. You should be able to walk into the light, and then it will put you into the next maze. Um, but at least I can. I did fix the problem, so sort of. It wasn't actually a problem. I didn't think of this, but I was being a little bit goofy. I can, increase my character's move speed. Right now it's set to 5. Let's say I put it to 20 where I had it. Well, it's not letting me because I'm running right now. 20. Nope. Okay. But hey, so fun fact, if I set this to 20, moves. Okay, or my number lock got turned off. Yep, there we go. Why do you place number locks there on the keyboard? Okay, so if I set my character movement to 20, then it does this hilarious thing. Um, so here's a fun fact about rendering for you. The way it's figuring out my character as it moves. So now I'm super fast. Is it does this tick and it says, "Have you moved since my last tick?" And then it rotates and does another tick and it says, "Have you moved since I've ticked last?" Right? So it keeps doing that. So what I'm doing at 20, like the tick happens and it does not compute that motion collided with a wall before it repaints the character. So essentially what's happening. If I put this back down to 5, or even to, something more reasonable like 10, it's fine. So it wasn't me, it was just the way I have this constructed. It it it, that move speed was faster than it was updating the character's position. So it's not actually a bug, it's a feature, right? That's what we're going with. All right, so I'm 90% of the way there of making the actual level work. And this part where you need to walk into the exit and it loads a new level, that's the world's easiest script in the world. There's like a game object dot load level in C sharp. So yeah. And here's also, I've been winging about C sharp. Here is like my feeling on any programming language. Like I'm really quite comfortable with like Java and C++. I'm pretty comfortable with Python. Um, and I'm okay with C sharp still. I'm not an expert by any means. But any one of those languages, if you ask me to sit down and write a C++ program right now, I haven't done it in like 3 years. I'd have to write like a dozen lines of code, and then my brain would say, "Oh yeah, I remember this stuff," and suddenly I'd be not an expert. I'd be really good C sharp sharp or C sharp C sharp sharp C plus plus programmer again. So it just takes like knocking that knowledge loose. It's like anything. If you haven't done it in a while, then you kind of slip a little bit, but it takes almost nothing to remind yourself. So that's why I've been winging about C sharp quite a bit because I just hadn't done it very much for a while. And now I'm kind of back into the groove, and it's okay. I still have to look a lot of stuff up because it still has that like if you don't know about that one feature, then you're not going to get it, and especially because it's very devoted to Unity. Um, a lot of this stuff has like get component rigid body, and that's something very specific to what I'm doing in Unity. But it's not that hard to understand. This rigid body, RB for short. Um, I want to get a component from the thing that this script is attached to called rigid body. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to attach the script to my character that has a rigid body attached to it, right? So it's not that hard. It just I had to reboot my brain again. So I'm getting there. Doing some of the stuff like gluing the pieces to the mouse was new, and so I got some help with that. But some of those kind of Unity specific things like mouse movement and keyboard movement. Uh, they don't they don't tell you much about that in school. I don't know why. It's UI is not a focus in computer science. Making computers work is a focus in computer science, or being able to do research. Uh, so yeah. But anyways, so there's where I'm at. I'm pretty pleased with this. Again, like it looks like a game. The next steps, obviously, I have to fix my character movement because if you could just cheat and walk to the exit without placing any maze pieces, oh, that's not really a game. So I gotta fix that. Um, I need to modify this placement script slightly so that it's also checking for obstacles. Specifically, the earth obstacle is not going to let you place pieces wherever there is an earth obstacle. Or the water one's going to be a little more work because I actually want to put an animation with that. Uh, and then fire and stuff just are let's see, fire and water, air. Air is going to be unique. Once you place the piece down, it'll like rotate at 90 degrees and drop it. Because it's like a whirlwind, so it's going to make your piece spin around. So I need to kind of add the logic into the code for that, even just in the anticipation that those things are going to exist. Uh, so I need to do that. I think that should be an early addition because it's easier to add stuff now than go back and add them later. So yeah, and then of course the last step will be to randomize all this. Excuse me. Um, because right now, so if you look in my level design, I've got these two pieces floating out in the middle of nowhere, and they're off the screen, so you can't see them. And it could be that this is what I need to do: is just place all of the pieces somewhere off screen like this, and then let it choose randomly. But then I need to just add the script to choose randomly, and then I have to think about Tetris because Tetris. No, I had a friend who back in high school. She was a special kind of genius. She really was. Very creative. Her brain was just wired differently. Like I swear, she thought of everything in a unique and beautiful way, and I loved her to death. Uh, but she was a master at Tetris. I've never seen anyone play Tetris like this. I'm telling you, if there's a Tetris World Championship, she should have signed up because you couldn't even see it was on the screen. But she tried to help me improve my game, and the key is being able to see the pieces on the side. So I'm thinking about Tetris right now, is whether or not I should put like coming up next. Here's your next piece, and then here's your current piece. Um, and do it like that because that lets you think about what your next two moves are instead of just your current move. So that'd be interesting and entertaining. So yeah, so I need to think about Tetris and I need to think about obstacles. And I need to think about character movement. So those are the three things on my to-do list. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me for tonight. I'm going to go play games with my friends. So thank you so much for joining me. Like and subscribe. Do all the things. I'm hoping that people are enjoying following me along this journey. If not, I'm having fun doing it anyway. So there. Uh, anyways, thank you so much. Good night.